Welcome to the Talk Sox podcast. I'm Alex, and as always, I'm here with Maddie. What's going on?
Doing well. I'm happy to see the Red Sox won tonight against the Orioles. That was a big change from last week's Monday game.
Yeah, I'm just glad that we're recording on a night that they won because I feel like the last couple of episodes that we've recorded, it's been on a loss. So,
I mean, the team has to take these games and win them against, bad teams.
the Orioles are such a weird team because I think that, yeah, it's very easy to lump them in with like the bad teams of the league, but they've played pretty good ball since the trade deadline, even though that they sold at the trade deadline. So, I don't know. When you look at the Yankees schedule, I think from here on out, and we'll get into the Yankees here in a second, they have like the 27th easiest schedule left. They're down at the bottom of the barrel, and the Red Sox are kind of hovering right around the middle. But the Orioles are factoring into both of those. So I think that they're better than people think they are, and I think the Orioles are going to play spoiler to somebody. Hopefully that somebody is not the Red Sox, but somebody as the playoff push kind of comes down to the line here in the last couple weeks of August or last week of August and as we move into September.
I was watching a video about the Orioles being spoilers this year. I think a couple days ago when I was biking. But yeah, I agree. They beat up on the Astros pretty recently.
Yeah.
And they do have a good core. Gunnar Henderson has always put up consistent numbers, and he's an all around good player. He's a threat on the base pass. He hits for power. His defense is superb.
Yeah, that home run that he hit to tie it today. I had just come in from picking up dinner for my family. I was like, man, crap. Like, and Gunner's one of those guys. He's hard to hate. You want to because he always plays well against the Red Sox, but if he was in Boston, he would be fan favorite number one kind of deal, you know?
Yeah, I just think the Orioles have a specific draft strategy to pick blonde cherubs.
It seems like the Phillies have taken that into a trade strategy this year when you look at their incredibly whitewashed lineup from top to bottom.
They did add Duran at the trade
Yes.
deadline, so he's not a frat bro type.
Not the standard Phillies Phillies personality with Johan Duran.
Himbo, if you will.
Did you see the delay in the Mets Phillies game because of the parabolic microphone just a few minutes ago? So the Mets changed to a left-handed reliever, and it looks like his release point was right where a parabolic microphone was in the outfield.
Huh.
And so there was a delay while they dealt with that.
Huh.
Yeah.
I saw the Phillies were losing, but it heard, but
So I guess the best place to start was the absolute trouncing that the Red Sox put on the Yankees over that 4-game series. I think that I'm good to call it a series sweep. Sunday night game doesn't count.
Oh no.
It's I like Dustin May. I think had that game been played later in the day on Saturday, it would have been a for sure series sweep. But playing a noon, 1:00 start Saturday game and then going into Sunday night baseball is quite a while. So I think the team was just ready to move on from the garbage that is the New York Yankees and just ready to get out of that city.
Objectively, New York City's a really cool place, and
I've never been, so I can't
okay.
say. But
Just from a cultural perspective, I love the Met
Hmm.
Museum. There's the Met Cloister too, the Brooklyn Museum, the MoMA. I could go on, and Yankee Stadium's in a pretty cool neighborhood, I will say. Like it's I'm used to, Citizens Bank Park with, just being surrounded by parking lots. And there, you have all these like, old bars, team stores. It's a very lively atmosphere.
Okay.
And when I've gone to games there, stadium workers are pretty nice. The fans
Hmm.
are too. I mean, I've gone to games where I haven't worn Red Sox gear, so
Right.
I I mean, and when I have, they have been nice. Just back and forth, respectful teasing.
Oh, for
So
sure. Yeah. I think, unfortunately, for better or worse, depending on your outlook on it, gone are the days of the 2003 rivalry between the Red Sox and Yankees. My best friend, who's a Red Sox fan, who lives here in the same town that he works at the high school with me and everything, he had the opportunity to go to a game at Old Yankee Stadium,
ooh,
uh, decked out in all of his Red Sox gear, and it was a rain delay, and
ooh,
so and an inclement weather delay, so they ushered them all into the concourse, and he said for about 30 to 45 minutes he was the subject of nothing but ridicule as he stood there in the stairwell
oh.
in his Red Sox gear. But it's a badge of honor for him. So uh, we we uh, we went to a couple of years ago. My wife and I and he and his wife went to Dodgers Cardinals and to see Mookie,
Oh,
and
oh.
we got like the whole. We were sitting. We were the only like non-fan of either team that was there that we could find, but we made friends with a bunch of Dodgers fans because we were there supporting Mookie, and we were sitting there in right field, and we like kept chanting at Mookie with all of like the other people, and he finally turned around and waved to us. And this guy
Oh.
sitting in the section next to us was like, "I don't understand why they keep yelling at this guy. He's not even that good." And my buddy
What?
just kept egging it on, and that guy got so mad. It was so funny. Um, yeah, so that was a good time. Much better than when I went to see the Padres and Xander Bogaerts, where the Padres lost. But
Oh, no.
But yeah, the New York Yankees, that series was almost laughable. Um, you get 4 1/3 from Lucas Giolito. It's not a great start. It's not a terrible start, but it's not a great start. And then you get Roman Anthony's "I'm here for the next 8 years" moment in the top of the ninth in that mammoth home run. And I say mammoth, everything out to right field in New Yankee Stadium looks mammoth. Uh, but the bat flip, man, that bat flip was so good,
It
so
was so
arrogant.
cold. So, like, he threw it and ran
And he
around.
said he was like, I don't know why I did it. I've never really done that before. And like, if you go back and look at like, when he hit the grand slam in Worcester not long before he got called up, he had a pretty big bat flip there. And then there was the game in like March. Oh, I forget what it's officially called, but it's a futures game essentially between
The spring
teams.
breakout game?
Yes, the spring breakout game. And there was that guy that was chirping him who
Oh,
kept
yeah,
chanting
yeah.
overrated, and he hit like a 520-foot home run and flipped the mess out of the bat as soon as he made contact. I think as Roman gets more comfortable in the majors, we're going to see that attitude show up, and I love it.
He kind of reminds me of Alex Bregman. I know there was an article posted over the past week about, Bregman and Anthony having similar. Well, you wrote that.
I wrote that, yeah.
Yeah, you wrote. Oh my, you wrote that.
Yeah,
Duh.
that was me.
And I mean, the underlying metrics are there, but then
Mhm.
they both seem like the type that thrive on hatred.
Yeah. That was a really, really interesting thing to write. Shout out to Brandon for coming up with that idea. Um, and diving into it, there's so much under the hood with those two that is nuts because if you really think about it, like Bregman only has about 100 more plate appearances than Roman because of the injury. So it's a much fairer comp than it would otherwise be. They've played a very similar number of games, and in that similar number of games, they've worked the same amount of walks. Their batting averages line up pretty well. Their slugging lines up pretty well. But I dove into it, and I didn't mention this in the piece, and I wish I would have because it got brought up in the comments. There are similarities in their swing profiles too. And you wouldn't know it just by looking at them, but when you look at the actual angles that they take, Roman has a little more of a closed off stance and Bregman has a little more of an open stance, but it's like their perfect swing path is almost identical. The way they lengthen out is right there. So there's something to it, and hopefully that gets Bregman to want to stay around for the long haul. It did come out in between recordings that he has told the team that he's really not interested in discussing a contract extension until after the season, which I don't blame him for. We're in the midst of a playoff push, and he needs to focus on that.
To be fair, Roman said that. I think in spring trading, something along those lines, and then he signed that extension that
Very
came
true.
out of
Yes.
nowhere.
Yeah, that was so awesome. Yep. Same thing with Crochet. Crochet gave him a deadline, and they kind of went past it, and then about 2 weeks later signed something. So my guess is that somebody in the front office is still talking to Scott Boras. And if it's something that is worth it for Bregman, then I think Boras will bring it to him. And hopefully we get Alex Bregman here through the remainder of his career.
Yeah. Last podcast, we talked about, the Red Sox next, big extension, and Bregman, blew over my head. If he keeps playing the way he does, he has to, restructure his contract. But
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I really don't see any other scenario where he would just opt in unless an injury would occur, which I don't want that to happen.
Exactly. So. I do think that it's a conversation, and I don't think that it's a foregone conclusion that Alex Bregman is back next season. We all hope that he is, obviously, but I don't think it's a done deal at this moment. I think it is likely. I think he wants to play for Cora. He seems to love playing in Boston. Having Crochet and Bayo and Roman and Christian Campbell locked up for the foreseeable future, I think will also help him in wanting to stay in Boston. But I mean, the Tigers present an interesting situation for him to jump into there. He doesn't play in that ballpark quite as well, but we know that they were hot and heavy on him in free agency. So it could be something, but I really do think that he ends up staying in Boston, although it's not a foregone conclusion by any means.
The Tigers have a pretty deep left field, if I'm correct. Let me quick left field stuff. Yeah, I don't think he would play well there. Also, why would you voluntarily move to Detroit? What's that one Jemai thing? Welcome to Motown.
Yeah. Yes. I love Jemai. He's the best.
Yeah. I love that one game last year where a fan dropped a foul ball. No, not a foul ball, a home run 2 times, and he ran up there to interview the fan. That was hilarious.
And then he got smoked by that Devers foul ball last year, and everybody thought that he cracked some ribs.
Yeah. Factor. Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah,
Did you watch the throwback game earlier this season with the Reds where they had them all in the 1970s suits?
I did not. I was out of the country then. But
that's right. I forgot you were gone for that. That was awesome. And Jemai was by far the dopest looking one out of all of them.
He always looks so cool. With his little bucket hats, man.
I have noticed in the end credits of the games, now there is a Jemai Webster's wardrobe provided by section, which I thought was awesome because typically I think as a sideline reporter, you don't get that. But I think the Red Sox are very lucky to have Jemai. He's great. Yeah, you had What's going on?
So I'm gonna
No, you're
can
good.
that left field discussion.
Okay.
But yeah, but I think I read somewhere there's definitely more of a market for third baseman now. I know I don't think the Phillies last year could have fronted Bregman's contract with them, their bloated payroll. But with a couple guys coming off the books now, they definitely could make a move for him.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I don't
I don't
I don't want to
know.
think about him in pinstripes that are red.
There were rumors that the Yankees were in on him
Yeah.
last off season. That would be interesting because there is a lot of shuffling in that infield that needs to happen before next season. Anthony Volpe is not a major league shortstop, as much as Aaron Boone wants to pretend that he is. Jazz Chisholm can't really play second base. Ben Rice is not a catcher. I was listening to Section 10 this morning, and I thought Carabas made a really good point where he said, effectively, if you have Aaron Judge as the DH, which is all he can do right now, the Yankees have a lineup of 7 to 9 DH caliber players that are underperforming, and none of them are good defensive players. And I think that's so interesting because, like, the Yankees were an organization to be feared growing up. But now, and I've said this and I've stood by this since before the season, the Yankees don't scare me. They haven't scared me at all this year. Even we were 10.5 back. I just always kind of felt like this would happen. And now they're, looking up at us, and they went on that little run when we kind of fell off for a little bit. And all the Yankees fans on social media were like, "We're coming for you, Boston." Like, great. At one point you were 10 games ahead of us. Like, you shouldn't be looking up and seeing the Red Sox if you were that good in actuality.
I understand, the big rivalry with the Yankees and Red Sox, but a lot of Red Sox fans and Yankees fans spend too much time hating on the other team versus actually rooting for their favorite
Yeah,
team.
I agree. Yeah. I don't know. I thought that was great to see. I would have loved a true series sweep. I thought it was on the table. I was really hoping that Dustin May would go out on Sunday Night Baseball and toss a really good game. I was talking to my dad about this. I did have a feeling that Carlos Rodon was going to pitch well after the Red Sox had touched him up in both outings this year that they've seen him in.
Mhm.
But I was hoping for a better outcome on Sunday. But I will gladly take a 3 out of 4 and the season series victory, because I think that could come into play at the end of the month.
100%. And I also get Alex Cora keeping May in for, a little longer than he would have
Let him
otherwise.
wear it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, today was a bullpen game. You wanted to rest the arms that were used
Mhm.
heavily earlier in the series. So, yeah, I'm not faulting him for that.
And I think, honestly, that was designed mostly to give Chapman a break. And I know Chapman didn't pitch in the 12-2 game, but as we saw when he kind of experienced that back tightness, was that Philly when that happened? Right before the trade deadline?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Um, Throwing him on back-to-back nights is probably no longer a feasible thing for the Red Sox. And so you do have to have an arm that can step in and take over that kind of bridge day. I think the hope was that would have been Jordan Hicks, and he has proven that he's a low leverage type arm at best right now. And so the hope is for Justin Slayton to come in, I think, and kind of reestablish himself as a back end piece. But talking about Chapman, he was absolute nails in this series and has been nails for the past calendar month. He has not given up a run, let alone a hit, in the past month. It's incredible.
For a 37-year-old too, especially just constantly throwing above 100 miles per hour, yeah, you
He
have to
got
give
up
him
on a little
credit.
extra for that in these Yankees appearances. There was a little something extra there. You could tell he had that ball was flying out of his hand. And I'll wear the flag that when they signed Chapman, I was against the signing. Um, I did not want him on the Red Sox. For a multitude of reasons. The past couple of seasons have been very down seasons for him, so I don't think any of us expected this. His off the field issues are things that I think that any self respecting person shouldn't tolerate. But clearly, and they came out and said that they had multiple meetings with him and they felt good about the situation. And obviously, from a baseball standpoint, they know far more than either of us do. So I still maintain that they should have sold high on him at the deadline because I think that you could still compete without him. You would have, and I say that to say that Mason Miller has been touched up since going to the Padres. Ryan Helsley has not looked good for the Mets. David Bednar has not looked good for the Yankees. So really, the only closer that I think that you would have been okay with would have been Duran, and that wasn't going to happen, at least at the time that it did. So I don't know who would have been the replacement because Slayton was still on the IL, and it's obviously not Hicks, unless you turn to Whitlock, which I think was possible. But I think they could have gotten a ton for him. But while saying that, I'm glad that they didn't trade him.
I still could see Whitlock being a closer next season.
I think so too.
I don't know if the Red Sox are going to re-sign Chapman. I don't think they should.
I wouldn't. Like you said, he's 37. I don't see any way that he makes it through his career or his age 38 season, either like this for an entire season again, or without finally succumbing to a major injury. That's the one thing about Chapman is in his entire career, he's never really had an arm issue. Things that have landed him on the IL have been like infected tattoos on his feet.
Wait, feet.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm almost positive it was on his foot and it got infected.
That's weird.
Yeah. So like he's never blown his elbow out. He's never had major shoulder issues. So I just don't Father Time gets everybody eventually. And the Red Sox are incredibly lucky that so far this season he has not shown up for Aroldis Chapman. I don't know if I want to play that game with a 38-year-old closer who throws 101.
Yeah. He's looking at his height and weight, 6'4", 235 pounds. Now I'm looking at images of him online. He's really, really, really jacked. I wonder, he might just be like an anomaly where he doesn't crumble apart with age. But yeah, I don't want to take that risk.
That's not a risk that I'm comfortable with. Kudos to Craig Breslow. And we'll talk more about him here in just a minute. But for as good as Chapman was in this series, the bullpen itself has been iffy.
Yeah.
I think there was hope that because they rested Greg Weissert going into the All-Star break, and he hasn't been used as much coming out of it, but he's still it's pretty well documented that when he's worn out, he doesn't lose velocity, he loses control, and that's still happening. Brennan Bernardino's back. He made the spot start today, and he's fine. He's a nice guy. I'll always go back to that. I've met him. He's a nice guy. But Chris Murphy went from like a bullpen stalwart to, option to AAA because he couldn't keep the ball in the ballpark. Justin Wilson is pitching well. Garrett Whitlock had that one blow up when kind of everybody in the pen had that one blow up. Jordan Hicks is as low leverage as you could possibly get at this point.
So Justin Wilson, I was looking at his stats before we started recording. Since August 16th, he's had a 5.40 ERA.
Really? I didn't realize that it had jumped up that much.
Yeah, he's kind of looked bad, like, since the beginning of August,
Yeah.
and, I mean, he's also an older guy too, and starting to show signs of,
Mhm.
maybe the season's catching up to him. Didn't he
Yeah.
not pitch last year too?
That seems right. I won't swear to that off the top of my head, but that seems right. He's only here for this season. That was the
Yeah.
first free agent signing that they made
Yeah.
was just
Oh, yeah. Woo,
uh,
Justin Wilson.
yeah, much to everybody's chagrin. It felt like Heim 2.0 at that point.
Yeah,
Uh, and then
100%.
we see what Breslow has done since then. But I do think that the bullpen needed help at the trade deadline, and Walker Buehler is not the answer to that help. I will be curious. I think Dustin May is probably headed for the bullpen within the next week or two. Um, I would be shocked to not see Kyle Harrison up once the rotation resettles. And then if May has another lackluster performance, I think that they're going to roll Peyton Tolley and see how that looks.
I could see that. I want Dustin May to succeed.
I do
I feel
too.
really yeah.
I would like for him to be around longer than this year because I think that he's a project that's going to take time to fix. And I think that they wouldn't have traded for him if Andrew Bailey didn't see something in him. And we've seen glimpses of it.
Like,
But
he had that great outing versus the Astros a couple
mhm,
weeks ago, who,
yeah.
are definitely more of an offensive threat than the Yankees.
Oh, absolutely. You have to wonder if maybe his first big start on Sunday Night Baseball at Yankee
Mhm.
Stadium in the most storied rivalry in Major League Baseball, if maybe that got to him. Uh, but I'd like to see Dustin May re-signed going into next year and seeing what an offseason with Andrew Bailey and Craig Breslow and a spring training with them looks like for him and what they can hopefully unlock a la Tanner Houck last year. Before it now looks like after the All-Star break is when his elbows started really giving him problems.
Mhm.
And that the Houck conversation is one that is probably best saved for the offseason. Um, because much like Tristan Casas, I think that it's very likely Tanner Houck has played his last game as a Boston Red Sox. Especially if a Joe Ryan is brought in, a Framber Valdez is signed. Like, there's just no room for him unless he will take a spot in the bullpen in 27 because he's out for all of 26. 27 at this point is not a given that we're going to have baseball. So maybe even 28. But, and I hate it. I like Tanner. He's a semi hometown boy for me. But I just don't know if there is room for him anymore. Um, and I think the Tristan Casas conversation got much more interesting about 10 days ago when Nathaniel Lowe was signed. And I want everybody to remember that back at the trade deadline, you had national pundits that were floating trade ideas. Nathaniel Lowe for Peyton Tolley.
Who
That
said that?
I
Who
forget who it was.
what the heck? Uh,
Uh,
that can't be real.
it was floated by at least a couple. I want to say it was. Oh, and now I can't find it. Here it is. Hold on. So much filler. Yeah, here we go. You're not going to believe who it is.
Okay.
It was Jim Bowden.
What? What? What?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Jim.
One team that would be
No.
a fit for Boston, one team that would be a good fit for Nathaniel Lowe is the Boston Red Sox. The former MLB executive has pitched Nathaniel Lowe being sent to the Red Sox in exchange for left-handed pitching prospect Peyton Tolley in a 1-for-1 swap.
And he was playing terribly with the
Yeah.
Nationals.
Mhm. But, just the organization's top pitching prospect. No big deal.
Yeah, yeah, oh my god.
In a 1-for-1.
I know.
I would have traded
Dang.
Peyton Tolley to the Nationals as part of a deal for Mackenzie Gore.
I wouldn't have, I wouldn't have done that if I was the Nationals. I've said this before. I think they could be a playoff team next year. They have a really good core.
They do.
Just
I
need
just
the
I
couple
wonder
arms.
if that open GM seat, interim GM, whatever they've got going on, is just going to be way in over their head.
Maybe. The thing with, the Nationals, though, is that or no, just not Nationals, Mackenzie Gore, is that, he's kind of fallen off of a cliff. Well, not
Yes.
fallen off. His, stats have dropped, and even then, he's
Mhm.
still a high strikeout dude.
Yeah, he is definitely somebody that I would love to see on the Red Sox, and I think that there will be conversations about Gore in the offseason. Um, out of all the potentially trade available pitchers, I don't see many scenarios in which the Red Sox don't wind up with Joe Ryan. It feels very much a destined to happen, like the Garrett Crochet deal. And I do think that involves likely one of Jarren Duran or Wilyer Abreu headed to the Twins. Potentially both if the Red Sox want to sign Kyle Tucker.
Stop. No. No, stop. I would die if Kyle Tucker signed with the Red Sox. He's starting to heat up again.
Yeah, with a broken hand. Like, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, good for him.
Especially because PCA has taken a pretty big nosedive in the second half.
He has, and I mean, when you're playing in a division with the red hot Brewers, I don't know,
Yeah.
they made a deal with the devil or something.
It that's an insane just run that they've been on. And as somebody who has always kept up with the NL Central because I live in Missouri, like the Brewers have always been kind of the redheaded stepchild. Nobody took them seriously. That part of me wants the Brewers to make that great run to the World Series. But then I also don't want to hear we shouldn't have traded Quinn Priester to the Brewers because now look at him argument all off season.
Quinn Priester's a high ground ball pitcher, and it's been reported, and I've seen this too, just watching baseball here and there. The Brewers are a really, really, really defensively sound team, and
Mhm.
I don't think he'd be posting the numbers he is in Milwaukee with Boston.
No, I don't think so either. And that's what people fail to realize is they think that you can just pick him up and everything comes with him. But if you put him in Boston, maybe he didn't gel with Andrew Bailey. We're seeing that with Walker Buehler right now. And Buehler
Mhm.
has been pretty open about the fact that he's really not listening to the Red Sox coaches. He's doing his own thing. And so we all wanted Walker Buehler to come here and fit like a hand in the glove, but it's not happening. And it looked like Quinn Priester was kind of in that same area. Yeah, he's a good pitcher, but I don't know if the Red Sox could have unlocked whatever the Brewers have unlocked in him. And the Brewers have a pitching machine there in Milwaukee. It's very much like a Rays-esque style. So I think that if I'm Craig Breslow, I do that deal 10 out of 10 times, no matter what. But yeah, Craig, the Washington Nationals DFA'd Nathaniel Lowe after Jim Bowden did float that we should trade Peyton Tolley for him. And I think there was some panic in the world of Red Sox fans because it was obvious that Lowe fit in Boston in need of a first base. He's kind of a slap oppo power guy. Although he's pulling the ball more in Boston than he has in his career, which I think is cool. And then when they DFA'd him and he had to pass through waivers and the Red Sox didn't make a claim, it was kind of like, what's going on here? But But then, it turns out that they've agreed to a deal with them, and they have, potentially a year of control next year too.
Mhm.
I was listening to, I think it was Friday night. Lowe was the post game interview after that 1-0 win, and they asked him like, when you found out that Boston was interested, what did you like? How'd you react? And he said that he called his agent when he saw that and was like, "Hey, is this real?" And his agent said yes. And he said, "Whatever you have to do to make that happen, make it happen." So he wanted to come to Boston. He wanted to play for the Red Sox, which bucks the argument that players don't want to come to Boston. They don't want to
Mhm.
play in this market. Like, I hate that. And it pops up every year when the Red Sox miss out on big name free agents. Oh, well, Shohei Ohtani didn't want to deal with Boston, but he would rather deal with LA.
And the
Like,
paparazzi there.
yeah, I hate that thing. And so for Lowe to come out and be like, I wanted to come to Boston. As soon as I realized they were interested, I told my agent to get anything done to get me to Boston. Like, good. And he fits here perfectly. His personality meshes well. His bat has been great. He's like 9 for 17. Like,
Yeah.
he is just tearing the cover off the ball. And he seems to have rediscovered his swagger from when he played for the Rangers. And I think that it's safe to say that playing for the Nationals in a year that they're playing for nothing probably zaps that away from you. And so he's now in a winning program around a young group of kids that is so talented. And I think he loves playing baseball again.
Yeah, he always seemed like a good, change of scenery candidate. He thrived like you said with the Rangers, and he won a ring with them in
Mm-hmm.
2023. Yeah, 2023. So, it's really nice to like have an actual first baseman and not a utility player who was just thrown there for injury reasons.
It's so interesting to me that people also seem to forget that it was just a couple of seasons ago. He was a Gold Glove winner. He is a Silver Slugger winner. Like, he was a heralded player until this season. Um, and so if being with the Red Sox, being with a winning organization is what unlocks that for him, great. And he's around for another season. That's what I was alluding to earlier with the Tristan Casas thing. I think that I really don't know. And we've talked about it on here that kind of my belief was that Casas has likely played his last inning of ball for the Red Sox. I don't know how I don't know how you can like go into camp with both of them and not give Nathaniel Lowe the edge for the starting position.
Um, you know, he could also DH. You could flip flop Casas and him.
Absolutely.
They're
You
both
could run them in
lefties,
a
though.
platoon. Yeah, that's not
Yeah,
ideal.
yeah, it's not the best platoon. And
And
you know,
that doesn't factor Masataka Yoshida into the equation, who
um,
I think
mm,
it's become pretty obvious that the Red Sox will do whatever they can to offload him this offseason. But as of right now, he is still on the roster.
I feel
Um,
bad for him.
I
He
do
he
too.
seems kind of out of place in that clubhouse.
Yeah, he
Like
just
in
loves going to
photos.
see the sights and like
Yeah.
taking in art. Like, he just loves being a traveler. And
And he's very good at it
yeah,
too.
if you
Like
don't follow him on Instagram, he is maybe the best MLB personality to follow. He's so much fun. Um, I do. I like Massa. I was excited when they signed him, but he does not have a spot on this Red Sox team, and that has become more and more clear by the game, unfortunately. I would love to see him traded to a St. Louis Cardinals, somewhere where the market isn't huge, the media isn't overly scrutinizing, where I think he could thrive. Um, I do think that in the event that they can't trade him, he will probably be a DFA candidate during the offseason. And if that's the case, I could see him going back to Japan.
yeah. he's kind of a celebrity in Japan.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the thing, again, I mean, anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. Just from what I've gathered about Japanese baseball culture, it's not as negative as the news media in America with
Yeah.
like David Hamilton sucks and needs to be DFA'd. Like no,
I think that's
they
a
don't
low
post
bar
stuff
to
like
clear for most people, but
that, or just stuff like that.
yeah,
Um,
the Boston sports media can turn into an echo chamber cesspool very quickly.
Oh, 100%. It's so much a hive mentality and
Yeah,
groupthink with and at the end of the day, we're all rooting for the same team.
or we're supposed to be at
We're
least.
supposed to be, and it's not a like, I like this player more than you do. Okay, do you want a cookie?
Yeah, but I think what happens with Masataka after this season is going to be very interesting. Part of me wonders if he would prefer to go back to Japan, and will maybe make that known and
A
work
reunion
his
with the
way into
Buffaloes.
the DFA. Oh, I think they'd welcome him back with open arms. Now, obviously, I don't know what that roster looks like. I don't know any of that, but I think that if he were to show interest in going back to Japan, I think any team in that league would welcome him back very quickly.
He participated in a home run derby in Japan, I think in 2021. I was looking at his Instagram the other day and I saw
Hmm.
home run derby. Huh, he's never been a
Yeah,
power hitter here.
no, that's so interesting. Hmm.
But also, just a quick little tangent. Um, can you guess which player has held .438 batting average, 1.125 OPS, and 215 WRC plus since August 18th?
Um, I have a couple of names that are crazy, so it's probably not them. No, who is it? I'm curious.
Connor Wong.
That wasn't one of the names. He got his first extra base hit in the Yankee series. Is that right?
Yeah. You know
Um,
what? Good for him. I'm really happy.
I
Like,
am too. There is a section of Red Sox fandom, and it's here on Talk Sox too, that is just relentlessly hating on Connor Wong. Um, I've been very vocal as a former junior Babe Ruth catcher in my criticizing of Connor Wong, uh, but I'm very glad to see him at least turn the corner somewhat, because had Craig dealt for a backup catcher that was hitting like this at the deadline, we would all be applauding him. And Connor Wong being a passable major league backup catcher is huge to give Narvaez a break. Because as we saw, he wore down very quickly. And now that he is being able to rest occasionally, we are starting to see his power tick back up and his average slowly start to climb back up. And I believe that Narvaez is the catcher of the future for the Red Sox. And I think that the people who are going around saying that he's a flash in the pan and he's Wong 2.0 are insane. Uh, I think that you would take Carlos Narvaez 10 times out of 10 over Connor Wong. And I think that Narvaez will be a very effective catcher for the Red Sox for the foreseeable future. But he's got to have a backup that can take over for a game or two every week to give his legs a rest, to give his body a rest. And now that we're seeing Connor Wong be able to do that, I think that we're going to see the best version of Narvaez really at the right time as we enter into September, into we have to win. We've got to win these games. We've got to play good baseball to make it to October. And if Narvaez is playing good baseball in September and October, we're fine.
100%. And yeah, just I felt so bad for Wong going on, the internet and seeing all the mean things people were saying about him. Like, he
Yeah.
definitely was getting heckled a lot of games, and I mean, to his credit, he never, barked at fans for negative comments. I mean, the bar
No,
is low there, so you know, I
he's
don't
not gone from homophobic remarks to misogynist remarks like some other players on the Boston Red Sox.
oh my ugh, just yeah, that whole series, um, was embarrassing, and I wrote about this, in my week in review, uh, it got up on the wrong footing because Nate Eaton led off in game 1 last Monday. Like, things could only go or keep going downhill from there.
Yeah, yeah, that's very true.
And also, just going, back to Nate Eaton, why haven't they called up Sogard at all?
I've wondered that. Maybe they think that Eaton's technically quicker, I think, and is maybe a little
Yeah.
more versatile to play around the diamond instead. But I think that Sogard would be the more dependable bat.
Yeah, Sogard was pretty fast last year, and then it kind of fell apart this season. And Eaton does have like a 96th percentile sprint speed. So I there's that, but he didn't use it in that one game to advance from third when he could have scored.
And Kyle Hudson took the blame for that. Said that's how they had scouted, and obviously hindsight's 2020, and they should have sent him. But I've that was a big misstep. But yeah, he didn't really use that speed there. And you have to think if it was Jaron Duran, Trevor Story, even Roman Anthony there on third, they would have just ignored what Huddy had to say and gone.
Mhm.
Somebody with a little more, you know, a little more time on the major league roster, and I think Anthony would have. I think Anthony would have tagged up there too. The last thing we've got on the docket here is I think Garrett Crochet has a really good case to be a Cy Young winner this season.
Can you please elaborate?
If we look at it purely by the numbers, if we start with the thing that everybody cares about, innings pitched, Garrett Crochet is second in the majors with 166.1, right behind Logan Webb from the Giants, who's at 166.2. But Crochet ranks top 4 in strikeouts per 9. He's fourth with 11.2. Skubal is third with 11.3. Where Skubal really holds the edge, in my opinion, over him is Skubal's walks per 9 are a staggering 1.4, and Crochet's are a 2.7. But when it comes to ERA, you've got Skeens at the top with a 207, Skubal with a 232, Hunter Brown with a 236, and Garrett Crochet with a 238. I think that it's a two-man race to be between Skubal and Crochet for the AL Cy Young. They're also the top 2 AL WAR leaders. Skubal with a 5.9, Crochet with a 5.3. FIP wise, they are once again 1A and 1B. I think that you have to take into account that the reason Skubal will probably get it, but if you take into account the 1-run losses and the no decisions that Crochet was stuck with in the beginning of the season, I think with a couple of those going his way, you're looking at a 20-win player, a 20-win pitcher this season. And I think that Skubal will probably win the Cy Young, but I think that Garrett Crochet has an incredible case to make for it. And if this is his entry into the Boston Red Sox, it's going to be awesome.
As Chaim Bloom once said, It's gonna be awesome. But, I think it'll come down to the wire. You got, their stats are really, really similar. Are you looking at Fangraphs?
Yeah, I'm looking at Fangraphs.
Okay.
Yeah.
I usually don't look at Baseball Reference for, current baseball stats, but they have that really nice stat head, finder, and I have that pulled up now for the both of them. War wise, Scooble has a 6.0, Crochet has a 5.2, and there are like two metrics really that jump out to me that Crochet, has a little bit of a leg up over Scooble, and that's, yeah, like you said, innings pitched and strikeouts. Other than that, it's pretty much a marginal difference. 2.38 ERA versus 2.32. But strikeout rate wise, Crochet has a 31.2%, Scooble 33.1%. This matchup or head-to-head race kind of reminds me of Chris Sale and Zach Wheeler last year.
Yeah.
Like both of them were really, really, really close, and it came down to the wire, and ultimately, well, no, actually, I have theirs pulled up now. Phillies fans just love to complain about anything, and
Especially when it comes to the Braves.
yeah, yeah, and Seal had better numbers for win loss ERA.
Yes.
Yeah, so okay. Unless Scooble falls apart sometime in the month of September.
I think the thing that could swing the pendulum in Crochet's favor is the Tigers all but have the AL Central locked up. And so it won't shock me, especially in the second half of the month, if they end up skipping a Scooble start or two. And that would hopefully let Crochet's ERA come down, bump his walk rate down, bump his strikeout rate back up, and obviously help with the innings pitch. So I think that if the Tigers end up skipping even just two Scooble starts sometime in September, and I think the way it lines up for us, I think if everything stays the same, we get Scooble in that season-ending series. I don't think there's any way he pitches in that. So if they can work themselves into a big enough lead or clinch a playoff spot early enough in September, then I think that you might see another skipped Scooble start. And I think that is how Crochet kind of works his way into the full discussion and makes that discussion a little more difficult.
Wait, Scooble's pitching today. Never mind. I just saw, I pulled up his MLB chart that he only had 2 innings pitched, but he's on the mound now as we speak. So
Okay.
I was like, is he injured? No. Like, oh no.
Gives up nothing but homers for the next 2 innings.
Oh no. And I like Scooble.
I do too.
He's he has a cool name. I think.
Yeah. And he's about half crazy.
What do you mean?
Like if you watch interviews with him, like he's got that look in his eye where he if he wasn't like playing baseball, he would need some kind of outlet to let off steam.
I just keep seeing that one insurance commercial he's now in on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
I also I don't know. Hunter Brown could be another candidate in that race.
I think he's in it, but I don't think that he's as close to Scooble and Crochet as Scooble and Crochet are to each other.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the NL, we know who's likely gonna get it.
Shohei
Ohtani. No. Well, I'm wearing his hat right now, but
I saw that.
yeah. No,
But it's going to be interesting to watch down the stretch, especially if the Red Sox continue to be in a playoff position and Crochet pitches as dominant as he has been lately. I do think that it's not a foregone conclusion that Scooble will win the Cy Young, and I think that Crochet could make a pretty interesting case for it. Before we wrap up, do you have any kind of final thoughts or anything that you want to get out onto the internet and into the listeners' minds?
Not off the top of my head, do you?
Anthony Volpe sucks. If you remember back to the Torpedo Bats episode, I started this tirade back then when I said that the only reason the Torpedo Bats exist was because Anthony Volpe is terrible at baseball, and I stand by that to this day.
Well, shots fired at the end
Aaron
of
Boone apparently thinks that he is the second coming of Derek Jeter. So keep Boone in New York forever. That's my final thought, is Anthony Volpe sucks.
I'll say amen to that.
Are you working on anything for the site? I know your week in review just came out for this week.
No, not at the moment. The summer and towards the end are really busy with my job. We're really
Tell me about it.
working to try to get schools open before the school year starts. So all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of, once August hits, everything that's not school related takes a giant pause for me until the end of the month. So it's been a down month for me, I guess you could say, in terms of number of pieces I've put out. But I do have at least one more that's coming out this month, and probably a couple after that, about how the mutual option that is surely going to be on the table for Lucas Giolito next year, because he is bound to hit 140 innings, is one of the few situations where it makes the most sense for both sides to pick up that mutual option and have Giolito around for next season. So I've enjoyed, I'll get it done tomorrow. And I've really enjoyed kind of diving into that. So be on the lookout for that here in the next couple of days.
Looking forward to reading that.
Yeah, I like, and we haven't talked about him really at all here, but I like Lucas Giolito, and I think that it's a smart move to keep him around next season, especially with how being on the IL and Fitz leaving the game today with bicep tightness. Giolito's a good guy to have around, so hopefully that doesn't end up happening. No, I like Richard Fitz, best nickname on the team, but it's just like he's not a starter, at least not this season. So
that experiment needs to end.
Yeah. So hopefully he's kind of shuffled to the bullpen next season as well. And I think we can get the best version of him there in short bursts, and definitely not running back-to-back games. But, I'm trying to think, Walker Buehler's in there now. His salary comes off next year. So the Giolito thing, I think, makes a lot more sense, especially when you take Buehler's $21 million out of the equation next year, because I think the option's like $9.5 million. It's pretty cheap. So I think that it's in both parties' best interest to exercise that mutual option. So we'll see. But like I said, look out for that in the next couple of days. And I'm sure you'll check out other things that are on the site. The writer's introduction, that was fun. I don't like talking about myself, but I did it.
Same here.
It's really cool getting to read like some of the background on some of our fellow writers and everything, and just kind of getting a view at the different perspectives that we all approach this team that we love from. So thanks for sticking around with us. This is episode 21, and we've got more to come, and hopefully a playoff run here in the next few weeks. So thanks for listening to Talk Sox, and we will see you guys next week.
Peace.